Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting fight. We're still waiting on the name for it, but franchises fights. I call it for the time being. So if you guys were with us the first episode, you kind of know what's going to happen. If you are new with us, we are going to do debates of some franchises or movie categories and everything like that. And just have a little fun, talk a little bit, nerd stuff, talk a little about our passions, and kind of going from there. So tonight's episode is going to be kind of one you're going to see quite a bit. It's franchise versus franchise, and we're going to start off out with two franchises that, as you can tell by our shirts, we're very passionate about. We are going to do MCU versus Star Wars. I will be representing MCU, obviously, with the Spider-Man shirt, and Kel Boy over here will be representing Star Wars. We're gonna go in 5 categories, and how each round is gonna break down is that we're gonna start with an intro, um, and we're gonna go to a 10-minute debate, kind of a free for all, discussing why ours is better than the other person's, and just making it ultimately making it out where have the winner. Actually, I do have to say I did watch Spectacular Spider-Man when I was sick. It is an amazing show. So if I so, and then we're also going to put up a poll during a question and everything like that, and we're going to allow the fans to actually pick. Once we have the picks and everything like that, we're going to see who wins each round. With the voting, please do not just pick based on your own personal opinion of said topic. I want you guys to actually listen. For the actual argument and see if one could sway, because you might be a Thanos fan, but maybe the Star Wars villain could actually swoo you. So topics we're gonna go over today is best villain, best hero, most iconic character, better shows, and we're gonna talk about the first movie of each franchise and how they set up the our arguments and did it lead. Um, and we'll kind of explain everything as we get into the intro about our picks and everything like that. So again, just prepared for all the fun times. For Zach, I know you just said something about Spectacular Spider-Man. I will say I'm not using that as my argument because I'm going MCU related only. So you'll see my shows when I get.
If
So.
you guys have questions too, feel free to ask, and if we have time to answer them during our debate.
Yep, and like I said, you're gonna see a lot of these franchises ones. Giving you guys a future. The next episode we are going to do is a Batman themed one based on because of the Batman movie coming out. So you'll see that a lot where we see certain movies come out. We're going to do kind of a topic just around like maybe a franchise of that or something. So, but we're going to have fun. We're going to go ahead and get started with the first question, which is who has the best villain? So I am going to let Kelly start with his pick and why he's going with.
So I went ahead and picked Emperor Palpatine, basically because the guy is in every movie. Literally, he's that is pretty much why.
It. All right, and for me, it should be no surprise when it comes to the MCU. I'm picking Thanos. I think what the movies, um, um, with Thanos, it's what the MCU and the 22 movies that were made based on that saga, what it led to, and just the argument I'm going to make right now of why he was why he was better, why he was more iconic villain, and why he was, you know, he tops, not he's one of the top villains in movies. So I set the poll.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys. I'm gonna be setting up a poll here. I will give you 10 minutes. Basically, who do you agree with more?
I'll set my timer here. Actually, we're gonna put this poll out after this round. So.
Well, then I'll have it ready once I'm done.
Yep. All right, so we're going to start with the argument starting now. Um, so why Thanos is better than Palpatine is, yeah, you're right that he was in a lot of it. So, but so was Thanos. Thanos had a part of this from the, and overall outcome of what he was trying to do was be more evil than Palpatine. Palpatine just wanted to rule the galaxy and everything like that. Thanos wanted to commit complete genocide, and and that's kind of
that's great.
So, at least with Palpatine, he's letting people live. He just wants people to go under his order.
Yeah, he literally wants like a slave labor force.
Yeah, Thanos wanted to kill everyone.
Yeah, because he thought that the whole, everybody was just going to deplete every single resource in the game.
Yeah, that's the more evil part, is the fact that he thought in his mind what he was doing was right when it was just complete genocide, and then after committing that genocide, he just went off and decided to relax. I was like, oh, my job is done. Even when he even in Endgame, when he saw what his future was coming, and everything like that, he was at peace even though before it even happened. And to me, like he's more threatening. Like, not only is with Palpatine, like he's very powerful. He is very powerful, but he's not a great fighter in itself. He relies too much on the Force, which is, in Star Wars that's true. But there wasn't a single person really hand-to-hand combat that going to fight Thanos and come out on top. Look what he did to the Hulk. He literally made Hulk look like a bitch without using a single stone.
You are also talking about a being that Thanos, I'm pretty sure, is not 30 or 40-year-old guy from their species. Of course, I could see him being stronger, being that in combat wise, because what he said, he was a soldier.
He was a soldier.
He was a soldier in their army.
Yep.
So I could see, yes, him being more of definitely the more hands-on combat soldier, where Palpatine was actually more of a studier. He actually went more into the Force than he actually lightsaber technique. So he was definitely. So this is actually kind of a good argument in a way that we're not really each other, but I mean, it's already starting off good. You already got a guy who's already good with hand to hand, but then you got a good guy who's good more with abilities. So, you got Palpatine, who spent many years as a young kid, all the way to being an elder, perfecting his Force. For Thanos, was perfecting his.
He was, but he was very set in his way, and I mean, look what he did to everyone that it came into contact with. He put his two adopted daughters against each other, and then when they lost, he freaking tore one of them apart and rebuilt them to be better. Yeah. To be better. The fact that he took Gamora away from her planet, and as they were killing, the population in that family, the thing is like Thanos went above and beyond to make sure his goal was done, even to the point where he felt sorry about it. But again, the fact that he did it. He said he loved Gamora, but he did it enough that he knew that he had a goal, to get the Soul Stone. In order to do that, he killed his own beloved daughter.
He was willing to sacrifice anybody.
Exactly, and that's a sign of someone with true pure evil. His body. That's the fact that he's willing to go as far as he needs in order to achieve it, and he wants to live at peace. Thinks living at peace that's the bad part too, is that in his mind he feels like he's doing good. That's more psychotic than anything else, because the fact that he knows, he even did it to his own planet. He even went to his own planet and says, we just need to kill everybody off. Not coming up with anything else. Not coming up with.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
That's great.
But the fact is, like, he even went to his own planet, went to the leaders of his own planet, and said, just kill everybody off. So kill off half the population,
save
and everything like that, so we can save it, instead of coming up with other resources and everything like that. and maybe he's not a great manipulator because there's one thing about Palpatine is that he's a hell of a manipulator.
Oh yeah,
Look, we did to poor Anakin, but at the same time too,
he didn't just did Anakin though. That's the thing. That's what people don't realize is like he did not just manipulate Anakin, and also like you were talking about with Nebula and Gamora, he did the same thing with his apprentice, Count Dooku. He manipulated him from actually a Jedi. He actually swayed his mind, and then you know what? When he ran his listener off, I didn't say it. Darth Maul, same thing. The same thing. Ventress in the Rebel series, same thing. He was really the same thing. He was doing and whatever he could and sacrificing in order to progress his own.
And that's fine, everything like that. And again, and this is a big argument. Zach, I'm gonna quote you on this one. Is that Palpatine was already evil. He knew what he was doing because he was evil. Thanos was doing it because he's good. And I think that also pinpoints why he's a better villain is because that's the mindset that he is having, and the fact is too of just no remorse out of him, and just with Thanos, and I think also too, you just gotta talk about what he did throughout all those movies to manipulate everything that kind of happened that way. He knew about Stark, he knew about all this, and just just using the galaxies here, and that was the biggest thing is Thanos really brought fear into an entire galaxy of just this dude is going to not only he is after what he's after what he wants, and he will do it by force.
Yeah.
Where and again too, like that's where I think like he does have a little bit of edge, is he's willing to do it on his own. With Palpatine, he does need an army around him to build around and everything like that.
So that was the thing because Palpatine, for the majority, he was the emperor, was the supreme leader. He had to that identity. He actually would go out and find others, dirty work for him, so that way he could stay undercover. Oh God, this is. But yeah, I can see, where Thanos, he was not hiding, or Palpatine was more hiding. They were both writing a plan. They were both trying to do a plan, but they were going at it different ways. But
You're not wrong.
So, in the end, they definitely the same thing because the Sith are like the same way. They think that they're the way the world should be, or the galaxy in their way. They think it is the right way, better than the Jedi. You explain with Thanos, he thought, in order to pretty much save the galaxy, the best way was genocide.
That's the thing, as I just think it just edges him out over that is because with Palpatine, it's more about world order. It's about order. It's about control. It's about power and everything like that.
Palpatine still wants every creature. He still wants every resource in there to maintain because he knows that you guys still run this galaxy's got to run on something, income, and all
but
that.
That's where I think Thanos edges it out on that because. And it's not even the bad part about his is that it's not even like, it'd be one thing if he said if this was all the bad people that had to go, you had control of who actually got snapped. But this is just nope, it's random. Yeah. You could literally be the nicest guy, and look at the people that actually got snapped. You got half the heroes get snapped. Did any of them really deserve to get snapped? Probably not.
Yeah, I hope Tom Brady got snapped.
Exactly, like you, and that's the thing too is that. It's a difference between order and genocide, in my opinion. And genocide definitely to me is just for evil. It's not the fact that it's set up to certain people, but that it was at random. So you literally had no choice if you were going to live or die.
Yeah.
And somehow miraculously the original 6 Avengers didn't die. But then again too, that's the hard part too, is that. And they got to watch it. And they couldn't do anything about it. And what he scarred, in his win, is that was the one thing too is both candidates ended up winning. But I thought Thanos' win.
They both have different ways of going toward it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the end result is the same, but it's just two different ways.
Yeah.
I can definitely see. Yeah, yours is definitely more strict, or mine is strict.
Well, and I think too
to a point.
And
he is a Sith.
But qualify, into your point, Zach, to what qualifies as a villain and everything like that, good. is the fear that he brings into people, the outcome of what he's doing, the path that he's on his way to do it, and what the overall outcome is. And it was genocide from the get go. Like as soon as you knew that he wanted to, we'll make this my last argument, then you can first as well. So with Thanos, for me, it was a fact of the matter that he wanted to what he considered was balanced in quest. The people that he sacrificed, the loved ones that he quote unquote loved, willing to kill them, willing to let people go in order to get it. And his end goal was balance, but it was all through genocide. He didn't care. He didn't give a damn who it was or anything like that. As long as he found peace within himself, and that is to me
I
better.
thought it was right.
Yeah, and that to me is why I think Thanos is a better villain. So you can go ahead with your last statement.
So I know. So yeah, you're saying because genocide of Thanos, it's basically because what he saw was going on his planet. Something just snapped in his. Oh my god, we got to do something now, now. Well, on the other side, Palpatine, he became part of literally a religion that's been around for many years. So literally, part of the movie, learned from a young age, Sith are evil pretty much right off the bat. Literally, apprentices kill their own master. How far back does Sith go? Um, so what I'm looking at is like I think literally I give Palpatine more of an edge because he started way younger, started plotting a great master, hearing it all the time. Tragedy of Dark Plagueis was his master that taught him everything. So where he learned, from somebody that were literally his religion. I'm people call it religion, people call it cult. I'm saying that he's had more time to plan this and reason to do this than Thanos does, where he just did it just because of Palpatine was actually continuing something over, trying to bring back. That's okay. I'm gonna throw up a poll. I know.
No, you're fine. Kelly's just setting up the poll, so you guys 10 minutes to pick your answer and everything like that.
That's not it. So I actually want to clarify something right now, guys. We're not at each other's throats once. We're not angry at each other. We're not. That's gonna like literally Shannon Sharp in this.
Loser gets kicked out of the apartment.
Pretty much. Very good. While Palpatine was holding a personal, but only feeling like, and then no, because that was the Palpatine thing was literally as a Sith. A Sith thing is always to get more powerful. They're always trying to find for things in the Force. Try to do like literally, yeah, bring somebody back to life. Blow planet their finger.
Before we get into more talks about conversation, we're going to the next category, which is best hero. So it's a little different picks than what you would probably think, but here are the reasons why. Go ahead, Cal. Go ahead and start with your.
I picked Obi-Wan Kenobi. He actually the reason I went with him is because role pretty much the movie pretty much. I think just overall the best. There was a lot, of course, here from, but I think Obi-Wan out of all of them.
And I went with Captain America. I think um, in this argument against Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's obviously the MCU is full of superheroes and everything like that, but I think to fight someone as good, I am going to go with some probably the equivalency in that, which would be uh um so the equivalency of Obi-Wan Kenobi to me in the MCU would be Captain America. So I'll go ahead and set the timer.
How's that, Zach?
Start. Want to start? You can.
So I know I'm not trying. I'll try not to get back in much like books. Obi-Wan though, from literally the beginning of Phantom Menace, end of Return of the Jedi, has literally been the best iconic character I believe whole Star Wars franchise. Done it all pretty. Really, actually wasn't even supposed to be a Padawan at first under Qui-Gon. Actually learned to become one of the best lightsaber masters. Wise at such a young age. Actually took on the role of actually at a very being Jedi Knight to train chosen one. To becoming a general in a clone army, which never done in many of the Jedi Order and an army. Being probably the most famous for helping Luke, help training, the help of Yoda, giving advice and all that. Actually, and also Obi-Wan nearly leave one. How are you going?
So I'm gonna just stop you. Yeah, that's a good way to stop, and a lot of good points and everything like that. And I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. However, the journey of Captain America is also the same, and I'm not going to go into comics related. I'm just going to base it on the movies. He wasn't the first choice to be Captain America.
Literally wasn't.
He wasn't, and it took the convincing of a scientist to know that he was the right choice based on the fact that he was a good person. He was a great soldier. He actually wasn't a soldier. He had everything wrong in the books of medical reasons that you could possibly think of, but it's because of his nature, because of his demeanor, it's because of him being a good soldier and him knowing that if he took the serum, he's going to um still remain a good person. He actually still is, and nothing ever changed really throughout the whole series of him. And the actions that he's done, just solidifies why he's the why he's the better hero. You talk about Captain America 1, he goes after. He was never supposed to go into combat. That was the thing, is that he was just supposed to be a mascot for the U.S. Army. But he went in there really with no training whatsoever to fight, go and save in the Howling Commandos and Bucky, and then still holding his good morale, because he should have at one point just gone in and really just massacred Hydra after the death of Bucky. But he still knew the job had to be done and to do it the right way. He also, and I know some people, talk about this scene a lot, but the most iconic Captain America scene ever is when he took down the plane, Captain America 1, saving the world, or America at least, from bombs that were on his way. Then you talk about just the fact of every movie that he is in, impact that he has on people, the fact that he still shows his good manners, good demeanor. He has powers and everything like that. He's not like Iron Man who has lasers. He's not Thor that has a hammer and god powers. This dude is a shield in martial arts. and he's taken on Ultron one on one, held his own. This dude has fought Thanos on his own. He is worthy enough to hold Mjolnir, which theoretically outside of Thor and Odin, gods, the guys who created it and the guy who was supposed to be wielding for it, he's the only other person to actually wield Mjolnir. Actually, correction, except for Vision. Um, and then you talk about
Yep.
Well, I mean, speaking of Civil War, just the fact that he was still standing on his own, he's still standing for the right thing about not signing the Accords because you lost the freedom to actually be a hero in his mind, and he stood by Wanda, protecting Wanda, even though she was, even though she tried to save Captain America and ended up, with Crossbones actually being blown up in that Wakandan um, embassy and everything like that, he still stood by her. So no
Yeah.
matter what, to me, like this dude does not give up on everybody. Doesn't give up on anybody. And even with Tony, he even apologized to Tony afterwards, after Civil War, and knew that, you know what, I messed up as well. Even though he didn't admit it, but they were both at fault for the fall of the Avengers. But he took the initial blame, and then he went back and busted out the beef group that was with them. So this dude, to me, shows that better, being better as a hero because anything he does, and it's funny is to kind of solidify is what the director said about why he didn't do the snap. One of the original thoughts was Cap was going to be the one who snapped in the end of Endgame, and clearly the Russo's brother says yes, it was an option, but we wanted someone else to have that Captain America hero moment. And I think that's why, you're talking a lot of heroes and everything like that, especially in the MCU. Cap really sets the stone, sets the
Right.
tone.
Right.
And then you go into, every movie, every especially new Avengers, story, everything else, they want to revolve around what Cap has done. Actually, he's actually really stepped up and inspired people to be more like him. Whether you think him, he's one thing about like him as a character in the comics, everything like that, he's too bland. Red, white, and blue justice, all that stuff. But he has such a good story arc as showing what it means to be a truly good hero. And yes, with Tony Stark, he talked about in Avengers: Age of Ultron, he wants to put a suit of armor everywhere so they can all go home. Cap was willing to stay and fight. Cap was willing to stay and fight. And the only time he got that happiness, that peace, and everything like that, with going back in time and finally getting what he wanted of being with Peggy, he waited till this was all over and then did it. So
Right.
he didn't leave the fight until it was done.
So actually, pretty much almost like Obi-Wan, or like Obi-Wan was always wanted to be diplomatic first. Never wanted to rush and fight first. He always wanted to be diplomatic first. That was his thing. Find a nice, easy have to resolve. That was always his thing, and that's what a lot of people cared about. That he was always willing to do stuff like that. He's also a great role model. He was well respected in a lot of places. A lot of people always thought that he was, going to be a great Jedi Master. He actually ended up becoming. He actually ended up being on the council. He actually um, was always willing to teach, even with after Anakin became a knight. Well, not just Padawans, but people he would run into, like runaway kids, help them with a family out on mission, stuff like that. He's always willing to help protect the innocent. That's what they do. That's what he's do. So you talk about, how Captain America wanted to go back and have life with Peggy. It was all over. Obi-Wan almost did that in the middle of the Clone War. He actually almost did that himself.
Yeah, but that doesn't really.
So
But to me, like with Steve doing it after everything, and Obi-Wan doing it beforehand, like Steve was willing to wait till it was all over, knowing that his job was not done until until the final straw.
so
And so he still sacrificed, even though and to be fair too, he never had the opportunity to. no one ever talked about time travel till Endgame happened. But he was willing to admit that
Yeah,
um
that's just Satine. Yeah, exactly.
but and so
That's
like
what
what's
that's what I was trying to get to is that literally him and Satine had met. You don't get to see it in the Clone Wars before, but they have actually met before, and literally that was their connection. That they actually had a love connection. He actually even admitted after uh, killed that he actually would have left the Jedi for her. Would have asked, but unfortunately, I think actually if he didn't die and maybe at the end of the course, maybe might have happened, or even maybe after Revenge of the Sith when he went to hiding, he maybe that could have happened. I mean, I that would have been a good write off for Obi-Wan, but then it wouldn't have led to caring for watching and have helping train Luke to get Yoda, and hearing all the stories of the Clone Wars.
uh-huh.
Well, so unfortunately, I don't have much more about Obi-Wan. That's like I said. I mean, he is an overall good guy. He's pretty much almost like the perfect Jedi in a way, of well balanced overall around. Never was in any categories of the Jedi. He was just a well rounded guy and very lovable. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And Cap was the same way, is that he was very well rounded. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the most powerful, but really to stand on his own, he was the best. And with that too, and I'm not, I don't know the story of Obi-Wan and why he left, and why almost leaving, everything like that. But Steve probably had the same options too, of always finding ways to walk away. And I don't think he would have done it. And I think that just goes to show, like, his true arc as a hero is that even with the temptations to always um the temptations to actually to quit, to end it, to go live a happy life, he stayed, finished it. He made sure, and he honored everybody that came around and with him. Especially the reason why he stayed back in Endgame with Peggy was, yes, it was for his own thing because he had that chance, but he also did it too. If you really think about it, he did it to honor Tony, because that's what Tony wanted from him. Tony wanted him to go live a happy life, as a normal life. So he was doing it as honor, as honor to his friend. So that shows a true way of being a hero too, is not only doing the right thing but honoring those that are a part of him and influencing it. And I think, and too, he's the most selfless person, because even after Civil War, and you hear it in Infinity War too. Um, hey, I took on this challenge, Zach. I know what's coming up against, man. Um, but the thing is too, like with Cap, like, not he doesn't he's very humble. He knows that Earth's Defender is not him, but he still is. But to me, to everyone, he still is.
Right.
But he's very humble about it. So that just, to me, shows why he's a better hero. Why I think he's a better hero. It's just everything he's done through the MCU. And I'm not going to talk comics or anything, but just what he's done in the MCU, influential, just memorable and honorable, and stayed true
Yeah.
to who he was.
Well, he was a defender.
Yeah.
Wanted to protect.
Yep. Lived up to it.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
And Zach, real quick, yes, there is that theory. Obi-Wan is that. That's also why the whole theory of Rey and Obi.
Okay, so I saw the poll for the first one. So the winner of the first matchup of Best Villain goes to Palpatine. So poll is up for the next one for Better Hero. As we get into the next category, we're going to talk about two of the most iconic characters of these franchises. Um, so with me, it is Iron Man. I know, if I was talking just Marvel in general, I could have gone someone with like Spider Man, but I'm going to talk about why Iron Man is a better iconic character than Vic. It's gonna be tough.
I went with Darth Vader.
Yep.
I don't think I need to say much. I'll let my argument speak.
Yeah, we're talking about two guys who are, pretty much made of armor and everything like that. One just can't breathe worth a damn. Um, the reason why I picked Iron Man is because he's the one that said it all. He was the reason why MCU is up and running in the success that it is. And Iron Man as a character, and I talked about Captain America and the influence that he did and everything like that. Iron Man and everything that he has done is and everything with Iron Man is that the reason why the MCU is what it is because of him. Whether you're talking about the movie, the success of the franchise, and everything like that, or just the fact of what he's done. But the reason why I say he's iconic is because we literally see him from his very first movie, someone who is too big for his britches. He thought he was a shit. Then he got captured by the terrorists and everything like that, the Ten Rings, and he had a complete change in his life. And then there's this journey of trying to do better, but he always got those flaws where it brought him down. But then he fought back to come back up. And honestly, he's had some of the most iconic moments in MCU alone. Number one being the snap and saying "I am Iron Man" to Thanos to defeat Thanos. You can also talk about the fight scene that he had with Captain America, the and that whole thing, and people still stand, and he even makes a good argument about why, in there they need to be checked. He is also someone who's doing the right thing, and he's and the great thing about him compared to Captain America, that Cap was always this naturally good person, always had good morals in his world and everything in his life and everything like that. Where Iron Man's having to learn to change himself to better himself, so he's learning by trial.
Iron Man more had like a reality check.
Did and that's what and that's why I think
Unfortunately, it
makes,
happened when he was older, though. Because
yeah,
the way his younger life was.
exactly. But then that's the thing too is that with him we get to see his journey from turning his life around to that. And then you think about the influence he did on Spider-Man. Spider-Man, you know, had a lot to live up to because of him. And he put trust. And there's those moments in Spider-Man Far Far From Home where he never thought he could, and then Still Happy talked about how, listen, he trusts you. He's not the most perfect person either. And that's the thing is that he just really influenced the whole MCU because he's not perfect. He's not, he's flawed at any ways. But what he does in these movies just make it more iconic, in my opinion. And Darth Vader is very hard to compete against because it is Darth Vader. You talk about some of the greatest villains of all time. Darth Vader's name is up there.
Oh yeah.
But and I think it's just because in the time that he came out with and everything like that was a different character. But I don't know if he was influential to franchise, to his franchise as much as Iron Man was.
So we are talking iconic character.
Yes.
So when I think of Darth Vader, the first thing that always comes to mind of Darth Vader is outfit, his suit. That is the one thing that literally catapulted Darth Vader what he is. Okay, here's this guy who's literally 7 feet tall, wearing this crazy looking mask with a cape, the control pad on, yeah, that does this weird breathing that nobody really knows about. I mean, if you're talking about when the A New Hope first come out, just see this guy and he was already intimidating looking. You thought, oh god, this is gonna be the villain here. Oh my god, he looks so badass. And so that is one thing that I have actually say why he's so iconic is mostly because actually his, because you see that and you know that is Vader, that is a scary right there. Of course, it was also the first that introduced that lightsaber. Oh my god, you see that? Holy shit. That freak He's definitely shows he's a badass. Definitely, the bad dude. On top of being also the iconic character, Vader also has, saddest backstory as well as great. So he actually goes through a lot of stuff. That's why I think he's also iconic. Start as, back to where he's actually Anakin, being told to save everybody to, he literally betrays the Jedi because he's actually trying to save Padme because willing to give up the whole order and everything to Sith, only to lose her and totally, literally have a mental breakdown and be literally have his legs cut off and his arm cut off. That he becomes. That's how he becomes Vader is because of all that. Only to then at the end, literally fulfill his prophecy, galaxy, by realizing that there's still good in him. And I just think that is actually just amazing. A guy who literally was good, went evil, came back to good. And he basically did it for son. His family. He finally it took him. Fortunately, many years to realize that what he was doing was wrong because Palpatine had twisted his mind so much that lost himself. So Luke came along and reminded him he was, and I think that's actually more iconic. And people don't. I know about you. People I don't think that deeply as I do. That's the way I see it.
Well, and that's the thing too and it's hard too because when Vader came out, it was brand new. Iron Man's been out way longer than Vader has.
Yeah.
But what
I mean,
I'm going to say this: what Robert Downey Jr. did in the MCU, and this is my argument that I'm going for. He made everyone love Iron Man, and this was a guy they literally took a chance on,
yeah,
and everything like that.
after
And I
the
think
rehab stuff that
yeah,
he went through, and
that's the thing too, and that's why, and for iconicness too, it's very relatable, in my opinion too, and that's why I think it's just more iconic because it's very relatable. The journey that people go through, where they're trying to do good, they're trying to set themselves up for greatness, and then they hit those walls where it brings you down a lot, and then he works his way to climb up to the end part, the end game when he makes the ultimate sacrifice, and he didn't want to initially do that. He didn't initially want to do time travel because he married Pepper, he had his daughter,
yeah,
he was living
he
a
was
good life,
happy.
but then he
Yeah,
ultimately knew, fuck, I gotta do this. I know I have to do this because he
yeah.
knows
It'll just
that's
probably
who he
happen
is.
again. He wanted a better life for his daughter.
Exactly.
And Pepper too.
And then that's the thing too. And with Vader, yes. And the thing is like until like all the story came out about Vader, the character of Vader alone, I'm going from 4, 5, and 6, was a very strong character. And it was that really badass, kind of like that darker tone and everything like that. And then we had to get more of it, and then we finally understand a lot more.
We had to actually learn the backstory of Vader because you hear through 4, 5, and 6, of all the stuff Vader did in the past and completely different person. So then we get the prequels to where we actually learn about Anakin Skywalker, and plus you Clone Wars series as well to actually learn about him and what led to him becoming Vader.
Yeah, and just for me too, like for me, like I think with iconic character too is, in my argument is that with Vader he wasn't the main villain because we established that was Palpatine. So he was the side person, but people liked him.
That's why.
But with Iron Man, he's kind of he's the iconic character that actually made a difference in the franchise of the MCU. Everything somehow always reverted back to him, which was a kind of a good thing in this series because instead of just being the character who just was there and made a difference, but he was the character that had an influence in it and still made a difference and still made the MCU. It was a main part of the MCU and success it. Because I think one of the biggest things too about why in my opinion he's very iconic is that when Iron Man came out, this was the MCU trying because They didn't have the rights to Spider-Man. They didn't have the rights to the X-Men, Fantastic Four. So they literally tried with a B-list superhero, and look what it came out
Yeah.
to that. Even in Avengers movies, people loved everything that he did, and it's not only just the character but the actor himself and Robert Downey Jr.
See, and that's one thing I can't fight about with you. That's actually one thing I can't fight about you. Is Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man every time, where Darth Vader went. You only know him because of Earl Jones, dude. So I mean, obviously, I can't remember the guy who played him originally, but Hayden Christensen played as Vader. I think there was a third guy they might have used too, but there really has not been like literally one person that Vader. All we get is just literally the voice that Vader is.
And that's
so like I said, I can't beat that when it comes to one guy who's played one character for so long, where it's like got to use because we have to find some 7 foot tall guy to play this guy.
And so is that your final argument? This is final argument.
Yeah, sure.
So for me, I think what also counts for it is not only for what he did throughout the franchise and everything like that, but it's it's what Downey Jr. did in that in his role, which makes it iconic. So that's just going to be the end of that question there. And looking up, I did see the winner of the last question, better hero, and it was Obi-Wan Kenobi. So currently, Star Wars is up 2-0. I have a funny feeling I know where this is going to end up, though.
I come down to this.
No, I honestly think I know who won.
All is up and running if you guys want to vote on that. Also, if you guys are watching this on YouTube too, please go ahead and share down below too with what your answers are as well.
All right, so we're going to go to the next question, the fourth question, which is going to be which has the better shows. So, again, a very broad category. So I'm going to go with just the ones that are on Disney Plus. So for me, it is Loki, it is WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, What If, Hawkeye. And then for Kelly, he's going to pick.
I'm going with the Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, and Book of Boba Fett.
Timer.
Good, but I feel like
You can always up it to 50.
You know what? Yeah, add 15. We're gonna do 50 minutes.
And we're going to start now. And I think the great thing, one thing I'm going to talk about with both these is that both of these play a big role in the story. I do want to talk about with Disney Plus shows for with the MCU is that with your shows they were good fillers to the story that was already developed, where these ones are future.
Yeah,
this is
leading up.
That's the great thing about why these shows I think is better than those, is because yes, yours tells a little bit more of the in between stories, everything like that, and that is for good true Star Wars fans. You know what? It is what it is, Zach, and I kind of figured it was a tough route to go with Iron Man versus Vader. But for me, the biggest challenge for the MCU was what happens next after Endgame, and all these shows are leading up to something great. Yeah. You're going to start with WandaVision. This was a show that even I didn't really have a whole lot of hope for. And every episode was a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
it was a great story.
Or when you even saw the trailers for it, you're like, why all of a sudden they in the 50s, and then all of a sudden they're in the 80s,
yeah,
and then they're like in the 40s, and then it's like,
well, and that's the great thing is that with this show, it is now going to lead to, with this one in particular, this leads to Multiverse of Madness and the aftermath of what Wanda did in the show, and we get to see that. We've got to see What If with the great multiverses and everything like that. Which again, we're going to be seeing part of that in Multiverse of Madness because we already see the trailer with Series Supreme. Spoilers for anyone who's not seen these trailers or anything like that. Then you talk about Hawkeye. Hawkeye was a great show because it a sets up a new character in Kate Bishop, so someone to take over the Hawkeye mantle, and then you had kind of that great story that we never got of Clint Barton Hawkeye.
Yep.
Then you have Falcon Winter Soldier, which was a great story between the two side characters of Captain America, and an ultimate good story of why Sam is the better is great to be the next Captain America. When yes, in the comics it was Bucky, but the story between the two of them, we got to see that in full depth of why it should be Sam, why Sam's destiny is Captain America, and then you had Loki, which sets up for future movies with King the Conqueror, and the fact that it lived up to the hype because Loki's a very popular character. Yeah, I should have done Loki, but you know what? So with for me, like with these shows, they set up the rest of the franchise and everything like that. They're not filling in any stories, and there are some times where they're filling in stories, like the Star Wars ones are. But these are great setups for the future, what is to come, which was something that was hard to do in this, knowing that just watched Avengers Endgame. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And
What's
now we're dipping in the
we can see the
multiverse. And this
aftermath.
this sets
Yeah.
up, this started setting up some great multiverse that we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home. We saw, we're going to see in Multiverse of Madness, and it all started with WandaVision. Chip in whenever you want to make arguments about yours, but
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like you're saying, at least that is one thing you got is that yours is setting up, which we don't see that very much. Not even like DC is doing something like that right now, where they're using their shows as their movie. But yeah, minor fillers. Literally, that's literally what all mine are. And right now, there are only fillers between four and pretty much four, or 6 and 7. Right, that's all like what are mine are because big gaps literally in between those. That what happened with Obi-Wan? What happened like Luke, Leia? What happened to Bail Organa? Leia, we don't get to see what happened to some of these characters. Boba Fett fell in that Sarlacc pit. Oh yeah, he did. Oh wait, no, he's actually dead. He actually lived through that. The Mandalorian though, I'm not gonna count really as a filler. I just think it's a kind of like an origin story slash an introduction to a race that you guys won't about. That if you were watching actually Clone Wars and Rebels, that people really wanted to see a lot about. Also, um, but literally, yeah, Clone Wars literally helps you tell you what has happened between literally 2 and 3 of 2, where you can actually they actually do lead up to literally that battle at the beginning where Obi-Wan and Anakin get the call that Palpatine is kidnapped, save him. Get to see all the stuff with Ahsoka Tano, who just became a hit. They took a risk with her. Introduced a character that everybody loved, and got her in the Mandalorian, got her and Boba Fett, went and her on her own show. Rebels was a bit different. Have a side story. They introduced some characters from the prequel, but it also introduced the characters that you would see in the original trilogy. Literally, it was just a side thing. It wasn't like anything too fancy. Literally, one escaped Jedi who survived in the world, and with a group of literally, outcasts, start help that do jobs and help actually start the rebellion. Heard all that. I didn't actually throw in the resistant. That actually is. That's actually 7. So
I think
yeah,
for
man.
me, like you have the edge over the sense that it's a continuous story and that. But the reason why I'm still standing by mine is because taking the shows that we already gotten and shows that we're going to get in the future. And the biggest thing that I think is coming out of success for these is so the difference between a lot of yours and like yours and mine are is with your shows these are already some majority of the cast is
We already know what's going to
we
happen.
already know
Mine,
what's going to
mine,
happen
we already know what's
and the
going to happen.
characters
Yours,
are
we don't know what's
well
going to
that's the thing too is
happen.
that yours is already developed characters where now we're taking in mind we're seeing the true Scarlet Witch, we're seeing the new Captain America, the new Hawkeye, we're being introduced to multiverse, to new villains, stories, with the adaptation of with the adaptation of producing like Elena do it with Kate Bishop and the chemistry we could see there. Like we're setting up for the MCU still remain great. And
Go ahead and keep talking.
I think that's just where like I think this like my shows are better is because these aren't the fillers that are coming out after these movies are already done. So they're already having they know exactly the story to go into with these. They already know um they already know that they already have the stuff that they can go off of. You know, we just need the fillers from this to this movie, right? You have that already kind of set up to for a good show. These guys are just taking chances, just like they've done in everything in the MCU, on actually like here's we're gonna set up Wanda as a villain, but we're gonna give her more harder, stuff to go through and everything like that. And so we get to see more tragedy. We actually get a backstory in that show of how she got her powers, and what she went through. You're talking, in Loki, we're going to set up for the future big baddie with King the Conqueror.
Literally,
Yeah,
with Loki, you're seeing Loki transform villain to
exactly. And, with Captain America, or technically
yeah,
it's technically Falcon Winter Soldier,
the
we see the
passing.
relationship we actually see the more in-depth relationship of what Steve Rogers was to both Sam and
Yeah,
Bucky.
which we talked about each time. We know that Bucky got to spend more time with Cap. Sam only got to spend little time, but saw the same thing in both of them.
Yeah, but there was the heartfelt moments about the shield and what the shield meant to both of them, and like why there was that relationship there. And to me, like, and What If was a great story of all these different stories that were altered that ultimately came back, and they brought back Ultron and actually, in a way, redeemed what he was because a lot of people didn't like Ultron in Age of Ultron. So when we saw him in What If, it actually changed it because you realize how big of a badass
Yeah.
and how really villainous Ultron is and what he could do. And also too, like we're getting set up with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness where we've seen glimpses of, you know, some of the what if. We get to see the aftermath in the full turn, I think, of the Scarlet Witch. And so that to me with Disney with the why I say the Disney Plus is better than Star Wars is because you guys actually it was Star Wars, there was actually the stories to put those shows in to make them good, where Disney Plus really had to pull something out in order to make them
Yeah.
successful, and they did a wonderful job with all of them, and they're going to continue doing all of them. And again, they took an iconic characters and said, "Okay, we're done with these characters. We got to develop the new stuff, the new style, and everything like that." And they're doing a great job. That I'm even more like excited for some of the shows that are coming out. I don't know. I never read a single Moon Knight comic or anything like that.
Right,
I'm excited
right.
for that. She
Mhm.
Hulk, Miss Marvel, all that, and that's what these shows have done is that they've set it up to where you know what Marvel is doing great things that they could throw out any character right now, and they probably will still do a damn good job with it.
Right, right, right. So yeah, I mean, like mine are just like I said, especially. Clone Wars, especially Rebels, they're just backstory to help characters develop. It shows us what has happened, what they have gone, while introducing us to some characters that we actually come to enjoy well. Yeah, I mean, yours is definitely setting something up. Mine's already passed and done. Mine's been passed and done already. While even though we got like the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett going right now, but still they are still kind of filling in of actually what they're not going to create anything really new. They're mostly just filling in too.
I think that's where I think that's again it's a different argument of did you really want to know what happened in between or in what?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part too is I
Well,
think
as
with
you said many times, we didn't read the books. We haven't read. A lot of people don't read the books or read the comics, so you don't know all this stuff. And that's literally what these shows are actually doing for us. Is that it's actually showing, hey, you know, this is actually what happened in between, or alternate story, or something you get to see from them at all.
and again too like and I think it's what's again this is a hard answer to kind of say and everything like that because I think you have to be a fan of both of them. I think you more so really have to be a fan of the Star Wars movies in order to enjoy these shows and actually have the patience and want to know what's going on. Where not a lot of people are fans of all these new characters that we're getting that they're doing in these shows. And the exception of Loki. Loki is probably the one person that went in with the big fan base because Loki is up there as one of the most iconic characters in the MCU. Um,
Credit to Tom, for that
exactly.
character. That's why I
But
think he's been so successful.
to my argument though, these shows more times than not are harder and they're more and it's really hard to pitch it where they say, let's take the guy with the bow and arrow, let's give him a series. Okay, well, he's got some roles in each movie. You know what? Cool. We get to see what he's actually like in a show that's by himself, and we see him, and more people become fans because. And one of the cool things is that they take the stories that were already given, they continue on and build and are building for the future. That a lot of the aftermath that they all went through is still there. That was the great thing about Hawkeye was that he is still feeling the aftermath of becoming Ronin to the fact that he still blames himself for Natasha's death.
Yeah.
Um,
Literally has PTSD.
you're talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's all the aftermath of what Captain America left and continuing his legacy. And for me, again, I just with these shows because it's new, because it's introducing something new to it to continue on a franchise that we thought might have been done after Endgame and everything like that. But they said, no, we're going to continue on. We're going to continue the legacy of the MCU. Yes, we're not going to have Robert Downey Jr. Yes, we're not going to have Chris Evans. Yes, eventually we're not going to have Chris Hemsworth. And no, it's not going to just have Spider-Man. We're going to introduce all these new characters and what the stories they can bring us and getting us more excited for all these new things. And especially now we're dipping in the multiverse. We're going to go into final thoughts right now. And again, I think I'm good with my final thought is just these shows just bring something new to the table and what they have done so far and what they're going to do, movies leading up to this and how everything is being put together. Because again, they're doing everything outside. So for me, like they are continuing these stories and they're building off of each one of these. And so, instead of being those filler episodes, now we're getting each thing is going to lead to something bigger. So
even though, like I said, yeah, mine are filler episodes, but also these filler episodes have brought in characters that you didn't expect at all to come from nowhere, especially from Star Wars universe. You know how Star Wars is so big that a lot of characters. But I mean, you get the story of Ahsoka Tano, you get Ezra, you get Ventress. That is actually one thing about Wars and Rebels. It introduced us to characters that now we actually want actually in the movie or these live action TV shows. Mandalorian, like I have said, it's bringing us characters is bringing us a race of people that we wanted to see a long time since literally Boba Fett and Jango Fett. Like, what is the Mandalorian? And then everybody's, and this has always been the big debate too. With Boba Fett, did he survive the Sarlacc pit? Yeah, there's definitely two different stories. No, he never got out. He there and he died over 1,000 years. Or yeah, he did get out, and then he just decided, instead of going into bounty hunting, that he wanted to take over Jabba the Hutt's crime syndicate and rule with respect instead of power. He's Boba Fett actually becomes like an. But like I said, at least though mine are fillers in between the movies, they definitely bring in iconic characters.
So Kelly's gonna put up the poll for that last round. It quite asteroid.
I won. It was the iconic character. Why would they give a big world? What are you asking that? Are you asking that when he gives us that talking? What are you trying to ask, Bree?
Well, while we're waiting for that last answer, we're going to go ahead and get to the final question of the night. And it is going to be, we're going to argue, we're going to take the two movies that started both these franchises and just argue about which one set up a better franchise. So it's going to be pretty much a better start. So for my answer, so obviously we're not going to have to give our own opinionated answers. So the battle is between Iron Man 1 and A New Hope. Start our clock now. I know exactly what argument you're going to go to. By the way, you said it last time too. And I'm going to already jump the gun on your answer right now, and I know you're going to say it's because at the time when it came out, it was brand new, science fiction and everything like that. And to me, that is a very good argument. I also want to pinpoint of what it meant for Iron Man 1 to come out and how it needed to be successful. With between the two and everything like that, Star Wars was a brand new thing that came out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Came out all before all the books, right?
Oh yeah, it was before its time. Yeah, literally the animation, the CGI stuff was all before it.
So in a way, I think I think that makes it easier for a franchise to get the ball rolling on that. When something with superhero movies, you have your iconic superhero movies, so you have your Batman, your Superman, your iconic with characters. Marvel, you had Spider-Man, X-Men that were owned by different companies at that time for the movie rights. So why it was a better start with Iron Man is because it was the hero that no one, unless you were a diehard fan of the character itself, going in, and you brought in an actor that no one thought would be it because of his past, what he was doing and everything like that. Obviously they wanted Tom Cruise, the big name actor. Jon Favreau was very fresh in his directing roles, and this was a start to the franchise that I think it was deserving because you couldn't start with Spider-Man, you couldn't start with X-Men, because if you wanted to do everything based on the Avengers, you needed iconic Avengers character, which had to have been Iron Man. They took a chance on a character that was always considered the a different version of Batman. The billionaire with problems, and he's just a guy in a suit with all tech, and Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau brought to life a character that, because of this movie alone and the journey that he went through in the MCU and everything like that, people started reading comics. People wanted to be Iron Man. They're cosplaying as Iron Man, getting, they're fanboying, fanboying, girling over this, you know, to the moment we get at the very end of Endgame when he sacrificed himself and the tears that it brought, and knowing that it all started with him in this movie. It was a great movie, by the way. It was, wasn't, you got to see a lot, and that was when CGI was still, in its, CGI is still learning and everything like that, but you got to see a character, no power. She literally built himself. It was a great origin story. It was a great, and Obadiah, I think it was Jeff Bridges.
Yep.
Jeff
Obadiah.
Bridges playing Obadiah Stane. Very great villain. The great chemistry between the two. And, just what this movie did to kind of turn superhero movies to actually open a broader, fan base than just, well, if you're Spider-Man, there's Spider-Man. Obviously, people like it because it's Spider-Man. Here's the X-Men. You have Wolverine, who's an iconic character. Here's Batman, Superman. So now just open up to now people are becoming more fans of more heroes, and it started with Iron Man. And it's go ahead.
Well, yeah, like why didn't they not use Captain America, the first Avenger? Why did they not use him first? Why did they pick Iron Man? I mean, it was a gamble. I mean, it literally was a gamble. Star Wars was a gamble. George Lucas took a big risk with Star Wars because, like we were just talking about, there, it was ahead of its time, especially in that time period. Started, nobody had anything like it. Actually, thought it was really going to bomb. A lot of people thought it was going to bomb, but then it just got so huge. Started a whole new fan base. It brought in some characters that a lot of people could relate to, especially a lot of like the nerd people community, a lot that were out there that were into the whole sci-fi stuff, because Star Trek universe, but now that was going on. You also have characters like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, that's literally what propelled their acting careers. They were just literally doing small parts and stuff. Harrison Ford was already getting big with doing some movies. I don't know if he was Jones before that or after. He was a big actor. A lot of the other characters too were just they just brought in a lot of English actors as well. That you get to learn about literally a whole new world, trailed into the future that back then you could only dream about.
That thing too, like there was, you say that it was something brand new. Granted, if you're talking about that sci-fi space fighting and everything like that, you had Star Trek, so it's not like it was completely brand new.
But no, in a way, it was brand new. It was more deep. It was definitely more detailed, I believe. Where the explosion, the blaster stuff, all that kind of stuff. I think Star Wars was more detailed than Star Trek was when it comes to like the anime. We're not going to get into a Star Trek.
I know that
we probably will there. But I do believe that I don't know. Just they also introduced us, to a whole new race thing where people have powers as well. Kind of like superheroes get powers, but they're actually random people that literally get born with powers as well.
So, I mean, I just want clarification with your franchise with A New Hope. Was it a make or break? Was it if it was successful, they were going to continue, or was it?
It was make or break.
It was make or break.
It was.
So that's where both these movies come in, and
that's the similarity that they both
similarity
have.
and everything like that too. And I think too with yours.
What's up, Michael? By the way,
biggest thing, like, and yeah, with yours, it's it's a whole new thing. It's a whole brand new thing. But we've seen a lot of success out of whole brand new things,
Oh yeah,
and that's where to me like where I think Iron Man is a better start because it's in a world where we already have iconic things and no one and this was the thing too is they were always talking about wanting to do Avengers, right? Is the fact of anything that DC has done with Justice League, the cartoons and everything like that, that's where they were kicking Marvel's ass because they had the superhero team and everything like that. And before Avengers came out, we had the X-Men. So this was a big, big shot. And literally this whole franchise that we've gotten with the MCU would was literally hanging on the fact of Iron Man. Again, it was taking a B list character and not a lot of people actually were fans of him because again he was looked at with Star Wars it's all new, they're completely different Star Trek, so they're their own brand new start, right? The problem with Iron Man though is that he was very similar to already developed characters and then you had to try to make it your own, which
I literally think they were trying to pull a Batman. I really think they were trying to pull like a Batman movie.
it did, but they want to give you a different version.
They wanted him to be the Batman, and then bring in Superman, who's the Captain America.
And that's the thing too is that you can make the argument for both these movies that they had something to live against. So with Star Wars, like I said, you had Star Trek already out there, so they wanted to be different from Star Wars, and that was the same thing
Yeah.
with Iron Man. With Iron Man 1 was didn't want to be a Batman movie. You didn't want to try to compete with
You didn't want to copy, yeah.
you didn't want to copy. And that was the harder part too, is that it was introduced in the same universe as already successful stuff, but we want to develop and take these stories to a whole new level. And you know, where you got from Iron Man, which also too, we're talking about not just the movies themselves, but the start of the franchises based on these movies and what they led to. You're also talking about some of the most popular movies that have ever came out. You're talking about in recent years, what, four of the top five? You're talking like top 10, right? Probably a
Yeah.
good 5 to 6 movies are MCU movies, and that wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened without the start of Iron Man and what it started
Yeah.
and the ground it set to the stories.
Yeah. Literally, Iron Man, well, literally today has changed, has made the MCU what it is.
Exactly,
Where
and
unfortunately, A New Hope that came out in the 70s, you know, did its movies. Then they took, many years off, did the prequels, and then many years off, and did new trilogy. So
no
I'm
argument.
so definitely there. I can see, yeah, even though Star Wars is not consistent, A New Hope did help prepare all these movies out. It definitely set the bar. It definitely opened up a world that many fans have enjoyed. That grandparents have told grandparents, their kids, the kids like our parents have told us, showed us this stuff to where we're getting the newer stuff in that we will be telling people our future about this and have them watching. So I think it's almost hard to pick. Want to go with those both were both maker type movies for franchise. Where actually you were actually I think more Marvel actually was been around a little bit more before the movies even started because they had TV shows like some live action TV shows. Well, where Star Wars didn't have it. You know, George Lucas went out. Yeah, we're gonna make a sci-fi movie, put it out there. Where yeah, Marvel already had the comic books. They had like I said, the other TV they already had back then. I'm actually one of no, honestly.
And that's the thing too, and this is my final argument here is again what Iron Man 1 did that actually and people still enjoy New Hope too to this day, but the same thing is people still enjoy Iron Man 1. What it started, the success from the MCU based on because of the start of Iron Man 1, the characters, the fact that they took a chance on Robert Downey Jr. and the character of Iron Man to leading them to taking a chance on Captain America, taking a chance on Thor, bringing
Yeah.
those characters that wasn't the Spider-Man, the all that, and what it led to. Um, Again, too, it's just I just think overall success. Both these movies started something great in their franchises. Star Wars has obviously been around a lot more, and so it is more iconic. But to your statement that you said that we've been getting it, Star Wars is something that you can pass down and everything like that. Iron Man in the MCU is going to be that same way. And, you know, theoretically, I'm going to say right now how Star Wars was to some grandparents and our parents. That was their big thing. This is ours. This is something that we watched from the beginning that we can tell our kids. And I think it's going to live up and maybe, and surpass Star Wars because they're obviously two iconic franchises and everything like that. And so, yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening and everything like that. Thank you guys for participating, doing your votes. We are just waiting for the last one. Obviously, currently, right now, it is Star Wars 3, MCU 1, based on, we'll see what happens here. Again, thank you guys. Thank you for guys coming in, everything like that. I know that there were some audio problems and something we'll work into in the next future. And if you guys have any other suggestions of franchises or movie ideas we want to do, let us know. We aren't just going to do franchises versus franchises. We are going to do themed ones. So, give an example is the next show we're going to do is after the Batman comes out March 4th. The next episode we're going to do is a Batman themed one. So, arguments will be the best Batman movie, best Batman portrayal. It is also going to be.
Movies.
It is also. There's one question I'm gonna throw this out here right now. This is gonna be a tough one for us, but best iconic villain that's not Heath Ledger Joker.
Not Heath Ledger.
Exactly, because I think if you ever have Heath Ledger Joker, no matter what the argument is, he was the best. So,
well, we'll have to see with this new Robert Pattinson Batman movie comes out. Who knows? Maybe the Riddler. Yep. It might be a favorite, or the Will Ferrell playing the Penguin.
Colin Farrell.
I said Will. I'm sorry.
That is. You already lost a point.
I already lost a point.
Thank you guys for listening and everything like that. Again, we're gonna put this on YouTube. If you guys have any suggestions or questions, please let us know. Really enjoying this, and that's all I got. Kelly, got anything?
That's it. I mean, we'll wait for this timer to go down here before we turn off the stream for the night. As I said, yeah, this will be up on YouTube. If you're watching this, comment down below your answers. Let's see what you guys have to say too. If what's your arguments too?
Also, if you ever want to be a part of these arguments, please let us know. We're more than welcome to We'll be happy to have more people involved. That it's not just Kelly and I. So, if there's ever a topic you want to be a part of, please let us know. We can do anime. We can do anything like that.
Yeah.
And that was for you, Zach, because I know you are an anime buff. But if you guys ever want to be a part of the arguments, we can always set something up. And we're more than happy to take on anybody to want to be a part of it, anything like that.
Right.
Even if there's a topic that one of us may know better than the other, we can have that one other person just kind of be a judge and be the third party person, just kind of listen, make a point. So thank you guys. That's all I have. I think what we have left on the. Okay.
So when it comes, I'm gonna say something right now with the topics. We're both trying to find something within the same category. Been doing the topics. So, Marvel versus, or I should say MCU versus Star Wars. The reason we both did those is because the franchises have multiple movies owned by Disney. He knows Marvel way more than I do. I know more Star Wars, obviously. You guys kept told the whole thing. So that's what we're trying to do. Like he says, for an example, watch more Digimon, where I watch more Pokemon. That's an argument that we could have about why you think Pokemon, Digimon.
Yeah, that's
why Dragon Ball Z is better than One Piece. Big Bang Theory is better than Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like that. Watch it. I'm just throwing them out there.
Always Sunny is pretty damn fun.
But that's what I'm saying is like, we're trying to find topics that somewhat relate to each other as well. And that we both enjoy. But if you have any we've thrown some down before. Almost. Have to say to you guys that are actually putting in the yeah, we'll let you guys know too. I'll post it up on Twitter, Facebook, also well. Obviously, the next Batman. All right. We'll let you guys know what topics we're looking at after Batman. I don't know if we want to see what we wanted to discuss more. Batman, Sonic villain, sidekick, that's who knows. I'm just spitballing on here,
All right. Well, thank you guys. That's going to be it. You guys have a good rest of the night, and we will see you next time.
You guys, bye.